Hey guys, Wiki here with a new video. In this video, I wanted to talk about the top 3 iPhone cases that I've used for my phone. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now this is my phone. It's an iPhone 17 Pro Max, silver, 2TB model. So naturally, for a phone that's expensive, I want to keep it safe. So that's where these picks come in for today's cases. Pick number 1 is the Pitaka Ultra Guard. Probably my favorite when it comes to feel. This case is the thinnest on this list, and it's absolutely protective too. So this case is the thinnest, and when I use it with my phone, it feels like I'm not using a case at all. That's how thin it is. And it's also made from aramid fiber, which is super tough. And while I know that might sound like marketing fluff, this case actually protected my phone face down and on the back when I dropped it from about chest height in my bathroom onto tile. The phone came out unscathed, so as a result, I can say that yes, this case can basically handle daily tumbles. So besides that, why I love this case, besides the thinness and aramid fiber, is that the buttons are made from metal and they're floating. What I mean by this is that if I put my phone in the case like so, you can see that the buttons are super clicky. So as a result, being super clicky, they feel super nice, and the fact that metal makes it even more premium. So it feels really nice to click the buttons to power on and off the phone and to increase and decrease the volume. And another thing I want to just note about this case is that my camera protector and screen protector, as you can see, both fit just nice. So as a result, if you have either on your phone, it will be accommodated by this case just fine. Of course, this case has some downsides, despite it being so thin and premium. And downside number 1 is that basically this case has a finish to it like a laminate. And in this corner, I'm not sure the camera can pick it up. What happened was that basically the laminate tore. I'm not sure how it tore because I'm very gentle with my cases. It could be a manufacturing defect, but either way, it tore and it spread to the lip of the case. So as a result, this part of the case just doesn't look as nice as it once did. And that's downside number 1. Downside number 2 about this case is that basically it's very expensive. This retails for 105 Singapore dollars. So if you really want a case for a good price, this one might not be for you. Yes, it's very premium and it does command a very high price because of that. But again, if you're on a budget, not for you, the Pitaka. So moving on. For case number 2, we actually have 2 cases, being the Mouse Limitless and the Mouse Clarity. Now, both cases are identical pretty much, except that the Clarity is a clear case. So we'll focus on the Limitless for this video, but I'll point out some differences as we go along. And the first difference is that the Limitless basically has a microfiber lined back. And what this means is that if you have any dirt trapped between the phone and the case, it's not going to scratch it, especially the Apple logo. I haven't had any iPhones basically scratch the Apple logo except my 11 Pro Max from a long time ago, so it can happen, but it's very rare. So if you're really concerned about that, get a Mouse Limitless because the inside is lined with microfiber that prevents it. Of course, the Clarity doesn't have it, and also the Clarity basically picks up scratches very quickly because it's a clear case. So that's another thing you need to keep a lookout if you buy the Clarity. But nevertheless, both of these cases are lined with Mouse's AeroShock material. And if you see Mouse run those crazy ads where they throw a phone way up in the air or off a dam or something and the phone survives, I can basically confirm that because I've dropped my older phones, not my 17, basically mouse cases. My 12 Pro Max used a mouse case, so did my 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max that I'm using to record this. All of these phones use mouse cases, and as a result, I can say my phone is very well protected in them, and basically I have no concerns dropping them if I ever drop them at all. And another thing I want to note when it comes to the mouse cases is that they're tapered. And what I mean by that is that if you look at it this way, the top and bottom are basically raised, but the middle isn't. So what happens is that when you use your phone, when you do your gesturing to the left and the right, it feels like the edges aren't there at all. And as a result, this case does feel a bit thinner than what it really is. Nevertheless, this case is still quite thick, so if you use it, you'll definitely notice that heft. So if you prefer a thin case, the Mouse Limitless might not be for you. But if you basically just want something to keep your phone super safe, definitely get it. And also, I will note that this case has the most clearance between the camera the screen protector and the edge of the case, as well as the edge of the case and the camera protector in the back. So if you have concerns with case fit with your screen protector and or camera protector, get a mouse limitless or mouse clarity, and both cases will fit it just fine. One more thing is that the camera control button on this case has an oleophobic coating, which many other cases don't have. My Taka doesn't have it, this Caseify doesn't have it, and neither does a Nomad case, which I use and I didn't really like because it basically got damaged very easily. So as a result, I would say this case has a plus here, being that the camera control button is super smooth and silky no matter what. So that's a big plus for this case. For retail price, I believe that it depends on what finish you get when it comes to the limitless, because I know that the one with a wood pattern is a bit cheaper, but this one's a bit more expensive because it's made from aramid fiber. So that could differ depending where you live. I'm not too sure. And also, if you go to Mouse's website, you can customize the clarity to an extent if this is what you want. You can get a few different prints, which can be certain designs. I'm not too sure what they have. I just know that there are some different designs, but I'm not going to dive into that because I'm not too sure. I just know they have some designs, but I'm not too sure exactly what they have. So while customization can be a thing for the clarity, it's not the main draw. Which brings us to the final pick of today's video, which is all about customization, and that is the Caseify Impact Case. Now, when it comes to, I'll start with the downsides first, because to me this case basically has more downsides than upsides. The first downside I would say is that when your phone is in this case, it feels like you're holding a brick. And I don't really like that because it adds unnecessary thickness to the phone, and it feels way bigger than what it really is. And for me, with my 17 Pro Max, this makes my phone even wider and even thicker than what I like with the mouse case. So if I thought the mouse case was thick, this case is even thicker. So as a result, that's a main downside to this case. The second downside, I would say to an extent maybe, is the price. It can put you off because this case rightfully retails for $121. I did get mine used, so this cost me only $31, but it came with a paint chip up here and a lot of scratches on the back. But if we exclude those, I would say that this case is still in a relatively good condition, so for what I paid, I would say it's quite worth it. And the final downside I will note is the biggest draw away from Caseify to me is that after about 1 year or 2 years, maybe 3 of usage, what happens is that the glue between the back plate and the borders basically break. So as a result, you're left with your case in two pieces, the back and the sides. So unless you can glue it back, you're basically screwed and you have to buy a new case. So that is basically the downsides out of the way. Let's get into the upsides. Now for upsides, this case obviously has a ring stand. Now you have to pay extra for the ring stand, but I find it's totally worth it because if you're like me and you prop up your phone constantly to watch something like a documentary or a TV show, it's absolutely worth it because you don't need to get your hands busy with your phone. You just leave it up on a table and just prop it up and you're good to go. And you can be hands-free all you want and you don't need to keep touching your phone, especially if you snack and watch shows a lot. You won't have to get your phone all greasy and dirty. You just leave it hands-free and you're all good. And of course, the biggest upside to getting a Caseify case is customization. You can get whatever you want on the back of a Caseify case, from your name to your favorite TV show, whatever you're into, Caseify definitely has something for you. So as a result, I would say that's the biggest upside to a Caseify case. But then again, you're basically factoring in the fact you're making your phone feel like a brick, and basically you need to worry about your case splitting after about a year or two. So if you're willing to put up with those downsides and you only care about customization, definitely get the Caseify case. To me, this case is by far the best when it comes to customization. When it comes to screen protector and camera protector compatibility, I haven't had an issue with mine. I find it fits completely fine, but the only downside, there's one more downside of this case, is that the buttons aren't as clicky because they're attached to the case and not floating, unlike these two. So as a result, the buttons are a bit less clicky, but clicky nonetheless. So take that how you will. Anyway, that wraps up my thoughts on my top 3 cases that I've used. I have used a few more which aren't in the video because I just didn't feel like they fit in, such as my Nomad case, for instance. I just didn't like that all that much. So these are my top 3 picks. If you're going case shopping, do consider them. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If this kind of video piques your interest, do consider leaving a like, subscribe, or a comment. It does help my videos fare better in YouTube's algorithm. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in my next video.